Welcome to another edition of the Goal Post. I'm your host, Oluwamayowa. I'm not alone. It's a TGIF edition, and I have Solomon sporting a green, T-shirt. Probably maybe he's celebrating the draw of South Africa yesterday, or maybe he's celebrating the win of Mexico. I think sometimes I wonder how he keeps up. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I see him posting constantly, and I have to chime in and the rest of that. I wonder how he survives. I tried watching the games for 2-3 nights in a row. The following day I crashed so bad I couldn't really do anything. Welcome to the show, Solomon. How are you doing this morning?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayo. I'm very well. I mean, quite exhausted because of the whole, having to stay up to watch the matches. But again, as I said, it's just the love of the match, and there's so much to talk about in terms of the World Cup. The matches that we have seen so far, they have given us so much to talk about, and it's just been so beautiful, watching the World Cup. Not to flog anything, but still, it's just very sad that Nigeria is not at the World Cup, because you watch this tournament and you really, really want to be able to support your own country. But that's not to be. That notwithstanding, the World Cup has given us so many beautiful moments already, and I'm sure that there's still so many more beautiful moments to look forward to.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, moving from the beautiful moment to the not so beautiful moment. I mean, we're all aware of the result of Morocco versus Tunisia versus Sweden. I mean, your guy Goykores was on the score sheet. Isaac, that refused to perform, when he was bought for 120 million for Liverpool, performed in that particular match. However, the breaking news from the aftermath of that result, of the 5-1 throbbing of Tunisia, is that they decided to fire their coach Lamouche. They decided to fire their coach Lamouche, and he's been replaced by Hervé Renard. What do you make of this move? A lot of people have come out to say the year Cote d'Ivoire won the Nations Cup, they actually fired their coach, brought in Emerson Faye, who is the assistant coach, and since then the journey has been very smooth. What do you make of this decision to fire Lamouche in the middle of the tournament and bring in an Hervé Renard?
Well, first off, I think that the country's federation, the footballing federation of the country, are simply looking to do what is best for the country at this point in time. And if they feel like firing the coach is the best, I believe that they had the right to do so, and they had very good reasons to do so. So it was not just the fact that they were walloped, by Sweden. It was the fact that after the match, I actually looked up the whole lineup and everything, and you realize that quite a number of the players were played out of position. And in fact, to a large extent, I saw a Tunisian citizen who tweeted and said that the number of players who had actually worked to get the team into the World Cup were not the same set of players that played in that particular match. And it was quite concerning, because it means that the coach, that's Lamouche now, that means that he changed, or he tilted the balance and the unity that these other players had already come into, right? And if you do that, it means that you won't be able to get the best of the players that are already in sync with one another. And if you ask me, I have a bias for Hervé Renard. I think that he is a brilliant coach. He did it with Zambia. He did it with Cote d'Ivoire. Went on to ensure that Qatar did well at the last World Cup. Maybe not necessarily do well, but
Saudi Arabia.
Not necessarily in terms of doing well, but then the fact that they were the host and whatnot. Then he went with the French women as well. So to a large extent, he had a very good portfolio. Anything that goes to, you can see that there's always an upgrade in the team. And the funny thing is, I heard, I don't think I've confirmed this, he doesn't get sacked. He lives by himself. That's to tell you how much of a pedigree that he has. Yes, he lives by himself. He doesn't get sacked, right? He lives by himself. And again, as I said, I have a bias for him because I think that he's a brilliant coach. I followed him right from that time when he won it with Zambia. Right, that was a very, it was more of an underdog winning that particular tournament. He did it with Zambia. He left. He did it with Cote d'Ivoire again. That's a back-to-back AFCON winner that you have right there. So he's a national team coach. He understands the rudiments and the things that are needed for a national team. And as I said, if somebody has proven themselves consistently over time, bringing him in now is obviously not going to is obviously going to tell on the players. It's going to change their levels. And I'll be looking out for Tunisia's second match, right? I'll definitely be looking out for that. And another thing is, you mentioned Ivory Coast changing their coach. That was in the 2023 Nations Cup, right? And it worked for them. It worked for them. So yeah, let's look forward to Abirena's first match. Let's look forward to Abirena's first match. And we never can tell. Maybe, just maybe, Tunisia might eventually qualify. Even maybe as best losers. Just maybe as best losers from that particular group. So again, as I said, the federation, the Footballing Federation of Tunisia, just decided that, okay, this is what's best for us at this particular moment in time, and they decided to do for it. So
Yeah. So I mean, you made mention of something that is very, very important. We saw Hervé at the last World Cup. He was the coach of Saudi Arabia, and he was one that orchestrated the defeat of Argentina in the first game. I mean, yes, Argentina ended up winning the title and the rest of that, but the shock factor was there. We've seen him coach a Zambian side, a practically very young Zambian side, and he took them to the Nations Cup, and he won. With Cote d'Ivoire, he won the Nations Cup with them, and also took them to the World Cup. However, the question is this: do you think? And before this particular tournament, there were reports that the Tunisian FA, they were looking at our own Chel and probably Hervé Renard to coach them. However, they didn't go for Hervé Renard. They decided to settle for another coach, because if you remember, after the Nations Cup, the coach was fired. Their coach was fired. They brought in Lamouche, and now we are seeing the result. Based on all of this, do you think Hervé Renard has the capability to turn things around? Remember, he's just going to tutor them for, he was the coach was fired about a week ago, and he has about 7 days to turn things around. That's number one. Number two, what do you think he will be able to do to change the performance of the player? Because if you would ask me, the performance, apart from the coach, making some mistake in terms of selection and the rest of that, the performance of the players were below par. So what do you think Hervé Renard needs to do differently to ensure this is rectified?
Oh well, as I said earlier, he is a national team coach, right? He's a national team coach, and over the years, you can see that he is someone that knows how to work under pressure. In fact, if you watch him, whenever he's in the dugouts, he hardly shows any form of emotion. You don't see him go overboard. You don't see him, he's a very, very cool, calm, and collected guy, at least from what we see in the dugout, right? So saying that, asking if he has the capability is obvious. Again, we have listed his resume, right? We have seen him do it, not with one country, not with two countries, 3 countries: Zambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Saudi Arabia. I mean, if you look at Saudi Arabia, for instance, these are countries that you never would have thought that would have done anything. It's like the way we are praising Cape Verde for their match against Spain. Teams that you do not think would do anything, and then look at the performance that they put up against the eventual champions of the World Cup, right? And they had to do it from a comeback. They came back to win that match. Argentina were already up 1-0. Now, that said, I just think that, first off, left to me, I think it needs to go back to, first off, telling the players that this is the World Cup. You don't get this opportunity every time. The World Cup is just once in 4 years. If you miss out on it now, it's going to be difficult for you to get it again. The funny thing is, quite a number of the players, especially because we know how the African system works, might not get the opportunity to play at any World Cup again. So if this is your first and final World Cup, or even if this is your last World Cup, you want to do everything that is necessary to ensure that you get further. And over the years, Ghana has given us motivation. Morocco has given us motivation. If these African teams can do it, you can also do it. There's no stopping you. right? Another thing I think he has to do now is to ensure that players play their rightful positions. That's just the right thing. I don't know why you want to, you know, usurp the balance in the team, right? That was what Lamouche did, and it affected them real badly because at some point in the first half, it felt like they had a bit of what's it called now, a bit of balance. But by the time the second half came, Gyökeres and Isak were all over the defense. It was telling, right? You could see, and I said it. I said it in one of my videos. I said that that was probably one of the best Gyökeres' performance I've ever seen, and I watched him a
True.
lot throughout last season. The way he linked up with Isak, it was obviously the defense because they had no answer to the questions that was asked of them. So every Hervé Renard coming in now, I'm sure, I want to believe that he has seen their first match performance and he obviously knows what to take, change the players, ensure that each of the players are playing their rightful position. They will be meeting up against Netherlands and Japan. Who says that they cannot throw an upset? Who says they can't throw up an upset? And by the way, best losers are still up for grab. Best losers are still up for grab. Get a loss in one of the matches, get a draw rather in one of the matches, and win the other one. You have 4 points, and you will be good to go. You will be good to go to a large extent. Although now the goals might stand against them because they were walloped 5-1. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. But that notwithstanding, I think that they still have a good chance if they are able to do something against Netherlands and Japan. And bear in mind again, as I said, that Avi Renat is a coach of underdogs. He has done it. You know very well that he has a way of upsetting the big teams. And looking at what Netherlands and Japan played in their first match, if he's able to crack the code against Netherlands and Japan, I'm sure that he will be able to get them to the next round of the World Cup.
So I mean they have about -4 in goal difference at the moment, and
Mhm.
if they want to, I don't think a draw would
Would help
would
them,
save
yes.
them. For them to be
Mhm.
able to qualify for the next round, they probably need to win the remaining 2 games because I mean, and I want to ask you here, the Tunisian side that you watch, do you think they have it in them to score more goals? Do you think they have it in them to score more goals? Yes, they were able to score one goal in that particular game against Sweden. However, um, they didn't look like a team that would score more goals. That's number one. Number two, if you watch how Averena coaches his side, I don't think any Averena side have been able to score 4 or 5 goals in a particular match. So, and goals will be very, very important in this particular, if Tunisia are going to move forward. So, how difficult would that be in terms of they have to beat a Netherlands that had a very terrible opening and a Japan that plays very direct football and is ready to attack you from start to finish, a Japan that will come from behind and score goals without even caring their opponent. How do they survive this?
Okay, thank you very much. So the first question, do this Tunisian team have it in them to score goals? Personally, I think they do.
Hmm.
Again, I watched their match against Sweden, right? I watched the match against Sweden. It wasn't so much of a problem going forward. It wasn't
Hmm.
so much of a problem going forward. The back line was the major problem. The back
Hmm.
line was the major problem. Again, as I said, Gyökeres and Isak, come on, they bullied the defenders.
True.
And another thing is, if you watch the goal that Gyökeres scored, they were trying to play out from the back.
True.
Tunisia were trying to play out from the back, and then Isak got the ball, passed to Gyökeres, and then Gyökeres scored. That's literally what they were trying to do, passing out from the back and all of those things. Avi Renard now, I think his first major work is to work on the defense.
Hmm.
Be a Cape Verde team, be a DR Congo team, work on the defense. And when you get the counter, take use of your chances. Now, here's the thing. You mentioned that the second question now, you mentioned that Avi Renard's team, they don't score many goals and all of that. They don't need to score many goals. They just need to
Hmm.
win. They just need to win. If they win their next match, I'm not sure. I think it's either Netherlands or Japan that they will play up next now. If they win that match, it gives them a moral boost for the other one, meaning that they know very well at the back of their minds that we have won this one, and it's going to give us, we are very close to qualifying for the round of 32. Obviously, they will go into that match with a game plan as well. Sit back as much as you can. There's no point. Don't worry about wanting to play beautiful football in that analogy that people used to do now. Don't worry about that. We just want to qualify. We just want to qualify. So sit back, Try as much as possible to absorb the pressure that you can, then eat on a counter. Now, here's the funny thing. You would realize that you watch that Netherlands Japan, that Netherlands team can crack. That Netherlands team can be cracked. You saw the way Japan played them when Japan at some point were even playing set pieces, despite the
True.
fact that Netherlands have 12 players.
True.
So if you are fearless, if you are ruthless, if you are going into that match with the mindset of we can do this, we've seen Japan come back to score them, even if they did not get the win, at least they were able to do something, then we can also do it. So I think that first off, Hervé Renard, beyond working on the defensive line, he needs to work on their psychology. This is the World Cup. It's not over yet. We have 2 major matches that we can still get something to do. And moving forward, I just think that, as I said, sit back as much as you can, eat on a counter. And if you are going to eat on a counter, it means that you have to be clinical in front of goal. That's the one problem that many teams in this tournament have had. Chances upon chances upon chances have gone begging, and you did not convert these chances. And because you did not convert these chances, they just did not get the result that was needed for them. So Tunisia still have a lot to play for. Yes, it is tough. It is tough. Netherlands and Japan did not have the fine start that they wanted. If either of them had won their first match, if either Netherlands and Japan had won their first match, okay, would not have been, it was still going to be tough, but at least not in the manner that it is now. Netherlands and Japan will go into their next round of matches wanting to win. So Tunisia also have to come with that will. It's not over yet. Netherlands and Japan have 1 point. You have 0 points. So there's still so much to play
True.
for. There's
True.
still so
True.
much to play for. There's still so much to play for. So I've written that he just has to tell them that we have to get this done. And again, the defensive lineup has to be better than what they showed in the match against Sweden.
Okay. And